Last week, biblical question, Jesus said, he who endures to the end shall be saved. And I asked, what does that mean? And it's in Matthew 24:13. If you're like a seeker, you're seeking first the kingdom of God his right way because you realize that nothing else is working. For those who made all the money, you've been married, you had children, you live in a nice home or don't live in a home or you're not married, whatever, right? You live from neighborhood to neighborhood, town to town, work several jobs, own your own business in some cases. You realize that those things are not working. It brings practical freedom in that you need money, a job and a money to live in this earth, but it doesn't change the spirit. It doesn't take away the void that you have. And so what you end up doing, some of you, a few, because only a few are going to seek the kingdom of God and his right way, and you get on that path, you start looking for the answer. What is it that I am missing in life? I gained the whole world, but yet my soul is lost. So you get on this journey to seek the kingdom. You then realize you have anger. And you realize that anger is wrong. It is evil. So you go and forgive. Forgive your parents first. And then once you forgive, you now have the spirit of anger taken away from you by God, because it is a possession. You are possessed by evil. Anyone that has anger is possessed, and all people has it until they some overcome it. But you go and forgive. Now your heart changed from hate to love, which is the nature of God. So then now you have the power of the love of God to destroy the ego, the not you. And then you start to die from the ego. The ego, the light of God destroys the imaginary mind, the imagination, and the emotions that come from the imagination that made a home in the body, the mind.
But the reason why I'm calling, Jesse, is because forgiving my parents, doing the silent prayer, been celibate for almost 6 years. I still cannot overcome this urge to sleep with a woman. You black.
You black.
I have a 5-year-old son, and his mother is absolutely crazy. And after he was born, she was using this kid, comparing, telling me that I don't love him like I love my 13-year-old son, and I stopped sleeping with her, and it was easy to do, and I couldn't believe that. But I just had this woman, this old friend, come back into my life. I ran into her at a birthday party, and Jesse, when that woman hugged me, it was like the devil came out. You hear me? I still got this strong urge, man, and I don't know what to do with it.
Here's what you do. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about.
And by the way, I'm doing the silent prayer. I think I've forgiven my father. I was angry at him.
You went to him?
Yes, I met my father at my mother's funeral in December of 2019.
That was the first
for
time?
the first time.
Really?
Yes, sir. He was around when I was little, but I don't remember. I was 2 years old or something like that.
So what was it like when you met him at a funeral?
I had started talking to him about a week before my mother passed away. And when she died, I asked him, would he come to her funeral? And he came to my house. I put him up. I don't know how to describe it. It felt good. I'll tell you that. It felt good to meet my father face to face.
Absolutely, man.
Sure.
But listen.
But he didn't have a good reason, and I held on to resentment because he didn't have a good reason of why he wasn't there. Bro, we stayed in Chicago for 12 years, and you never showed up one time that I can remember. He didn't have a good reason why he didn't show up. Even after that, I said, okay, because I was listening to you, and I said, okay, I'm going to ask him what happened, and I'm going to accept his answer.
Right.
And I tried to do that, but I still felt resentment towards him. I still wanted guidance from him, and which was actually love. And I just realized he didn't have it to give me, you know?
Right. So let me tell you about the urges.
Yeah.
If you pay attention to the thoughts, because you can't have the urge unless you have the thought or thoughts,
Right.
right? God said that the sin is of the imagination, not the act itself, but it's done in the imagination. And so if you just watch those thoughts and you're going to see what you're thinking that brings on the urges, and then just let it pass. Don't give in to the thought. It's going to be hard. It's not easy in the beginning. And so you will find yourself giving into the urges, sometimes acting them out, doing them right. But don't
Mm-hmm.
judge yourself when that happens. Have no opinion about it, because when you judge yourself for carrying out the act, you're only digging a deeper hole for yourself. You're playing God, and that's only to make it's making you stay in that act for a longer time than you need to. So what I recommend you do is watch those thoughts when they come. Don't judge it as good or bad. Don't give it a title. Don't give it a name. Just watch it, and eventually, David, it will disappear from you. But just be patient. Don't judge it. Don't judge yourself. But watch the thought. The sin is in the thought. It's not in the act. When the thoughts are gone, the act cannot happen. You cannot do anything without the imagination first. So just watch it and don't be hard on yourself. Just watch it. Don't judge. Just do the silent prayer and watch. And I'm telling you, man, it will leave you. It will depart from you. And you'll have self-control because you will have a clear mind eventually. That's why you do the silent prayer and just watch. There's nothing
Right.
else you need to do. So don't beat yourself up about that. God is not holding that against you. He understands. He knows why you did. It happens. But so don't you hold that against yourself either. But watch the thoughts.
So I should not sleep with this woman. She
Right.
has 4 kids. She has 4 kids, so I'm definitely not marrying her. But she is she
What?
is still very attractive.
Well, try to avoid it. You definitely don't want to make a baby with her, but try to avoid
Right.
it. But if you do find yourself being weak and giving into it, don't judge it. Then you'll get stronger from it. But if you judge yourself, beat yourself up, you're going to be
Yeah.
weaker. It will weaken you, and you'll find yourself doing it unnecessarily or when you really shouldn't, right? But just what are you doing the silent prayer every morning, every night?
Yes, sir. Just for the last week, I smoked pot for 30 years, Jesse, and I
Yeah.
just quit last Sunday on my birthday. I just turned 44 a
Happy
week ago.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank
Happy
you, and I
birthday.
quit smoking pot on my birthday.
Nice.
And and
Well, don't worry.
yeah. So since then, I've been doing the silent prayer. I did it as soon as right before I went to sleep, and as soon as I wake up in the morning.
And what made you stop doing it? Were you doing it at one point and stop? Was it because of the pot?
I had, you know what? I had tried it a few months ago, and what was crazy was when I tried to sit still, and it was like my heart was racing. I felt scared, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. That freaked me out, man. I felt like I couldn't breathe,
And so that made you
and
stop doing it?
I ran away from it.
And so now that what is it like for you now that you're doing it again?
Now, some days is different than others because some days I just can't sit still. If I'm got too much going on in my mind, I can't sit still. So I just put it off and then I'll do it again later on. But
Right.
for the last week, since I haven't been high, maybe that has something to do with it. Since I haven't been high, I've been fine, man. I feel good afterwards.
Yeah, stay with it, David. And again, when you do sit still, stillness is the perfect thing that human beings should be doing, especially when you're trying to overcome passions and things like that. So just do it, and because the last thing the devil wants you to do is sit still and watch him. He wants you to be active. He wants you to be busy. He doesn't want you to watch him. And so when you
Yeah.
sit still and you start to feel anxiety or like you just can't sit there, just watch those thoughts, knowing that it's not you. It's the devil not wanting you to be still. That's why he get busy in the imagination. and just watch it. And eventually, the urges will disappear because the thoughts will disappear. So just stay on the track. And during the day, if you get busy, you get caught up in your head, take a moment and become aware of your body because the body is in the moment. Be aware of your hands on something that is in the moment. And you practice living that way, and eventually it will become the abnormal way would disappear living in your mind, and the normal way of life would appear, and it'll become easier and easier and easier. So be patient with it, man. And the ego will die, and you will be free, totally free, all right?
For sure. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, man. I wish you well.
All right. Thank you, Jesse.
Okay. Amazing. And if you endure that, like going through a cornfield or woods, and you get a little confused, so you forget which way, it's the straight way to your home again. The straight way back home, right? And so you take a moment, you be still, and then you start to find that straight way back home. And you stay on that path through the woods, through the cornfield. It doesn't matter how thick the corn, how dark the night, how nothing, how great the challenges come, you stay on that path until you finally get to the end of the woods. And you can see the light and you're back home. The ego is now done. That's the harder part, is to endure the ego, because you feel like, and you believed all your life, that you were your ego. You were the thoughts, the imagination, and the feelings. And just endure till the end, and you shall be saved from the darkness, from the ego. But you got to stay with it. And some people do. A lot don't, some do. Only a few will endure till the end. And it's amazing to see that.